Welcome guys. Today we'll be discussing the second module of our journey, that is semiconductor physics. Before going into this, let me tell you about the importance of semiconductors. Why should we learn about semiconductors? What is the role of semiconductor in our daily life? These are some of the electronic devices which you all might be using. This is cell phone, without which you cannot live nowadays. Video games which you used to play like anything. This is laptop, TV, some vehicles. These are some of the diagnostic medical devices. Washing machine. So whatever the electronic devices we are using for our comfort nowadays, and our life is becoming so comfort that we cannot imagine a life without all these devices, right? Can you imagine? No, it's not possible. All of you are so, now we are so used to with this type of devices, we cannot stay even a fraction of time without these devices, right? So whatever the electronic devices we are using for our comfort or entertainment, those are made up of integrated circuits which are the main functional part of the devices. And these integrated circuits, which are the essential parts of electronic devices, semiconductors are the essential part of those integrated circuits, and hence semiconductors are essential part of all electronic devices or equipments. These semiconductors are also used in different optoelectronic devices like your light emitting diodes, lasers, etc. And these are also bringing advancements in many fields like your communication. In communication, you are using this mobile phone, athletes, and we are using semiconductors inside that. Then computing, you are using laptop or your calculators. They are also you are having semiconductors. Healthcare, just now I show you so many diagnostic devices in which semiconductors are also used. Military systems, transportation, nowadays these automotive vehicles are also coming, which uses these semiconductor devices in that to improvise the versions. Clean energy, one most important or most significant source of clean energy is solar energy, that is generated by using solar panels or solar cells. Those are also using semiconductors. So there are many more applications where we are using semiconductors to get the devices. If this semiconductor is associated in our daily life so intensely, why not we learn about this semiconductor? So what is a semiconductor? Basically, a semiconductor is a material whose electrical conductivity lies in between insulators and conductors. We know that some of the materials like wood, paper, these are giving like insulators, current cannot pass through them. And at the same time, like copper, gold, silver, all these are metals which can conduct electricity. The conductivity of metals is very high, so that electric current can pass very easily. At the same time, the conductivity of insulators is very low, it doesn't allow the current to pass through. But these semiconductors are having the conductivity which is in between the metals and insulators. At 0 Kelvin, the semiconductor behaves like an insulator, and slowly as we are increasing the temperature, the conductivity increases. Conductivity increases with increasing temperature. These things we'll understand in more detail in the further slides. Some of the examples of semiconductors are silicon, germanium, gallium arsenide, indium phosphide, and from here the first two, that is silicon and germanium crystals, they are indirect band gap materials, and the lower two, that is gallium arsenide or indium phosphide, these are direct band gap materials. And these direct band gap materials, those are more useful for optoelectronic devices. Why these materials are classified like conductors, semiconductors, insulators. What is the physics behind that? Why these are categories like this? Here, the energy band diagram that plays a vital role. What is the positions of the different bands in the energy band diagram? Let us look into that. And considering silicon, because silicon and germanium are the most used semiconductors, the atomic number of silicon, all of you know what is it? It is 14. And the electronic configuration, this you might have read in your school time, that the electrons are distributed in different energy cells. So here the electronic configuration is 284. 14 total number is 14. It is arranged as 284. Let us see how it is arranged. So inside the nucleus there are 14 protons. Outside the first cell is K cell where we are having 2 electrons. Then the second one is L cell which consists of 8 electrons. And the outermost is the M cell which is having 4 electrons. This picture, what we have seen just now, is of a single atom. Now in a crystal, there are so many atoms placed inside the crystal. So whenever the atoms are coming near to each other, these outermost electrons, they interact with each other and there is splitting in the energy level, and because of the splitting there is a rearrangement of the energy levels, and those form a band-like structure. You might have studied in detail formation of this band structure in your solid state physics. If you want to have a video on this, you can write it in the chat box so that I can put a video on that. Due to this splitting and rearrangement of the energy levels, there is formation of bands, and here I have taken the outermost bands, that is valence band and conduction band. This is the valence band which is occupied with electrons, and generally this conduction band are with empty energy states. Depending on the position of this conduction band and valence band, the separation between the materials are divided into 3 categories. Let us see. So this is conduction band, this is valence band. What is valence band? What is conduction band? Let me tell you one by one. Valence band is the highest range of occupied energy state. As I told, there will be splitting of the energy levels and they will form some bands. So the highest energy band which is occupied by electrons, that band is known as valence band. And above that, one more band will be there where the energy states are unoccupied. So the conduction band is the lowest range of vacant or unoccupied energy states. Valence band consists of the energy states which are occupied by electrons. At the same time, the conduction band consists of energy states which are unoccupied. Energy gap between the conduction band and valence band is known as forbidden energy gap, and in this region you will not find any energy state. Now we will understand the classification of materials based on this positions of valence band, conduction band and the amount of forbidden energy gap. First we will see this one. For these types of materials, the valence band, you can see this red portion whatever I have shown here, that is the valence band, and the yellow portion whatever I am showing over here, that is conduction band. And you can see there is some overlapping region between the conduction band and valence band, so that these electrons whatever present in the valence band, they can go to the states available in the conduction band. So there is a free movement of electrons from valence band to conduction band, and hence at any temperature if the electrons are moving, how we are getting the current? Whenever there is a flow of electron, we are getting current. But here, what we have seen, as there is a overlap between conduction band and valence band, the electrons are free to move from any state available in the conduction band. If electrons are moving, These are the materials which can conduct electricity at any temperature, and hence these are known as conductors. Now coming to the second group of materials. Here this is the valence band, this is the conduction band, and there is a huge gap between the valence band and conduction band. Generally, if it is more than 5 electron volt, it is very difficult for the electrons to move from the valence band to conduction band, and valence band is completely filled, so that there also they cannot move by their own. And though it is many number of electronic states are freely available here in conduction band, the electrons cannot reach easily to the conduction band, so there will be no movement of electrons either in the valence band or conduction band, and hence these are our insulators. After discussing the conductors and insulators, let me show you one intermediate step. Here this is the valence band, this is the conduction band. The value of the forbidden energy gap is about 1 to 3 electron volt. In this case, around 0 Kelvin, the valence band is completely filled and these electrons cannot move to the conduction band, so it will behave like an insulator. But as the temperature increases, these electrons can move to the conduction band and they can start conducting electric current. So these are known as semiconductors. Some of the examples of semiconductors are silicon and germanium, as we have seen. At 300 Kelvin, the forbidden energy gap for silicon is 1.12 electron volt, and for germanium it is 0.72 electron volt. These you may get as short type questions in your exam. Now we will see some of the types of semiconductors. Basically, there are two classifications. First, I will give you one classification which is based on the purity of the material. If it is pure or if it is something is added into the material, depending on that, the semiconductors are classified into broadly into two classes, that is intrinsic semiconductors and extrinsic semiconductors. Intrinsic semiconductors are the semiconductors in which there is no impurity added, so it is a pure form of the semiconductor. And coming to the extrinsic, there are some impurity are added, like if it is silicon, apart from silicon some other impurity will be added to increase the conductivity of the semiconductor. Those are known as extrinsic semiconductors. And based on the type of doping materials, these are of two types, p type and n type. In p type semiconductor, the dopants what are added are from group 3 elements of the periodic table, and these n type semiconductors, in this we are adding the materials from group 5 of the periodic table. There is one more classification based on the position of the conduction band and valence band. That is given as semiconductors are of two types. The first one is direct band gap and the second one is indirect band gap. What is the meaning of this direct band gap and indirect band gap? Generally, the valence band and conduction bands, they are having different minimas and maximas. So the first picture is for a direct band gap material. Here you can see this is the maximum of the valence band and this is the minimum of the conduction band. And in the energy wave vector diagram, energy wave vector diagram means the wave vector or the k vector is taken in the x-axis and the corresponding energy is taken in the y-axis. So if both the minima of the conduction band and maximum of the valence band occurs for the same value of wave vector or k vector, then that is a direct band gap. At the other hand, if the maximum of the valence band and minimum of the conduction band occurs for different values of wave vector, that is known as indirect band gap materials. Here the silicon, germanium crystals, those are of type indirect band gap. Gallium arsenide, indium phosphide, those are of direct band gap materials. And as I told you, The direct band gap materials are more useful for optoelectronic devices because while they are coming from these electrons are coming from conduction band to valence band, they are emitting the energy in the form of light wave. So it is useful for optoelectronic devices. Today we have discussed about the basics of semiconductors. The next class will understand what is the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductors. Thank you all.